guys, this video is I'm hoping not going to ruffle feathers. What I'm hoping to do is that it will direct people on how to pick a good Lenormand deck and how to avoid a deck that will be very difficult to read. This is a box that I put a lot of my favorite Lenormands in, and I keep it close to a favorite chair of mine so I can reach in and grab them. This box, nobody wants to be in this box because this is my box full of decks. I probably have about 20 decks in here that I will never be able to use because whether the images are beautiful or not, they can't be read. So Lenormand is very different than tarot. Tarot, you can have all kinds of things embedded in a card and it can help you with the reading. Lenormand, you have all kinds of things in the card and it will actually destroy your larger readings. So I'm going to go through some of the things that you should look for in decks when you're buying a new deck, when you're new to Lenormand. And this is also a video plea to deck creators who are interested in making a good deck that people can actually use. Several artists have been contacting me and saying, hey, what do you think of this card? What do you think of that card? Well, sometimes imagery is absolutely stunning, but completely useless in terms of how it would be read. You want it to be pretty, you want it to be functional, but you want it to be a working deck. You don't want it to sit on somebody's shelf or in that box, the unused box, and you want to make sure that this is a deck that people can actually read with. So let me go through some of the basics. The traditional cards are a great place to start. So we have the Blue Owl deck, and we have this is one of the Donnaleigh, the French cartomancy deck. Both of these are nice traditional decks. This one I've removed the borders. They're good for a reason, and what I'm going to do is go through some of them and explain what makes them good, and because it affects the meaning of the card and your ability to read the card. But there are also some more modern decks. This is one by Melissa Haney or Melissa Hill, and the images are very easy to see, very uncluttered. This is a super easy deck to read. Melissa, you need to put this back into print because this deck is so fantastic. But there are some really good new decks. The Lenormand Revolution, very easy to see images. That make a deck very easy to read. So let's go through some of the things. I'm going to start with the traditional decks, and I'm hoping that other traditional readers will agree with me as well, that these are some of the features that you will want to look for in a deck. So, rider. I prefer a person. Should be a person riding on something because this has to do with actually moving, but it has to do with someone moving through quickly too. If your deck has playing card insets, that's a big bonus because a lot of people cheat now and just put the number in the suit or write it out, and it kind of takes away from the deck, and especially the court cards, which can then become other people in your readings. So, and you'll notice that the backgrounds of these cards, see how uncluttered they are? They all have like a pale blue. And it's kind of a neutral, nothing, no messy stuff, swirls and embellishments and people and stuff in the back. These are really just the image. Ship in the center. Clover in the center. Big and bold, in your face. It's not a tiny clover at the bottom. It's not someone holding a clover. The house is huge. It takes up the whole card. And I love that it has the court card. The tree, same thing, huge. It's not a tree in the corner. Clouds. You want to have a dark side of the clouds. If you do have clouds, many readers do take advantage of that and look for that. The snake, really big here. If you can have one, the head facing in a different way than the tail, for some readers that is meaningful. Others it is not. But this is really clear. I've seen snakes wrapped around trees and snakes in people's hands, and the other thing is the tree or the person becomes a primary image, and you go looking for which card is this. So you got a snake in your face, you're going to know this is a snake card. If you'll notice, the coffin has drapery on it, and the open side of it does have a different meaning to some readers than the draped side. This is something to consider if you're making a card and you do have a coffin card, which you will have to have in this deck. That's something some readers use. The flowers card or the bouquet, very clear and obvious. I've had people with the lily card can be very easily confused with this. Again, notice the plain backgrounds. So this becomes the center of attention. You've got your scythe. It's not a person holding a scythe in a field. It's just a scythe. Broom and whip, really obvious here what we've got. Birds, if you can put two of them in it, that's helpful, whether it's two owls, two birds, because one of the meanings of this card is a couple or two people. So it does help to have the imagery back you up. There's your child card. Fox, again, front and center. Don't make it a distant thing in the background. You dress it up too much, it looks like a person. It might be harder to tell. Bear, again, front and center. Stork. So you notice how big these images. Stars, there's many of them. One of the meanings of it is many of something or spread out. And some of the older decks did not have, this is an old German deck, there was one star in it, but it can still maintain the same meaning. But what you don't want is a person on the hill looking up, wishing on a little star that's tucked in the corner of the card. The star gets lost, the other image becomes a primary image. Why is this so important? Because in the Lenormand, you're not looking into each image for symbolism. These are like words. So the stars card takes on one word, and this card takes another word that modifies that, and this one changes that. So you've got 3 words here. You've got to read them really fast. So you've got to see big and bold what's in each card. If you cannot see and identify what's in one card within a second, it's going to really muddle up your readings. You're going to not be able to read it. You're going to have eventually the mother lode of all decks, the grand tableau, all 36 cards put down in a big rectangle on your table, and you have to go fast up and down those lines. It's not like tarot where you're going to be looking into all the trees and always looking in his house. And no, it's dog, it's loyal. All right, it's a friend. This is going to be like one word. So you're not going to sink in the card. You're going to skim past it. So you have to see a lot of things and condense them down into one quick thing. The tower should be something tall and kind of isolating looking, kind of like Rapunzel, because it can mean someone who's aloof. It can be isolated, isolating. It can be alone. It can mean a spine. A tall spine is one of the meanings, your backbone. It can mean somebody who's tall. So if you've got a castle that's short and stout, what are you going to do with that reading? Does it now make any sense? Same thing with, I'll go back to the fox. If you keep the fox red, I'm going to love you for that, because if you go making a fox that's gray or white, now you've confused me. If someone asks me what she's going to look like, and I get the fox, and this is my redhead card, this is a card of someone that's redheaded, now what am I going to do if it's white? Does it still mean redheaded, or now does it change the person's hair to white? Then where is my redhead card? So if you keep the meanings true to what they are, people can slip in and out of the systems very quickly. Much like if you're used to using the Rider-Waite, you're going to feel comfortable if you find another deck of cards that has that fast meaning you're used to. Garden, again, you want to have a very clear garden. Mountain, big, big, bold. No clutter here. It's really obvious what it is. Path, if you use the path or crossroad, please put a split in it. Please don't make it just one long meandering road or straight road, because one of the meanings of this card is choices. There's more than one way to go. So you want to make sure there are splits and choices and directions to take. Heart, please make the heart huge like this. If you have a person wearing a suit and they have a little tiny heart in their chest, and all I see is a person with a spot of red on them, this is no longer a meaningful card or a useful card to me. I need to have a big heart. I want to see it fast in 1 second. Same thing with the ring. Gorgeous, big, bold. We've got a ring. Again, if you're going to show me a woman with a hand and someone's putting a ring on her finger and it's a tiny little thing in the middle of it, forget it. All I see is 2 people. I want to see ring. Show me a ring, a big ring. Book, you can make it open or close. Open tends to mean secrets revealed. Close can be secrets that are withheld. And which way the spine is can be important as well. But please don't make a book with all kinds of things around it, because then it's going to get buried and I won't know what the card is. Letter, same thing. If you have a person sitting at a table and there's clutter around and they're writing a letter, somewhere in there's a letter, I won't know what it is. Sometimes in some decks it's hard to tell the difference between book and letter, because there's so much stuff around it and it's on a table. Make it really clear for your readers. For the man and woman card, here they're facing the same way. In some decks, for example, in this deck here, Blue Owl, we get over to the man and woman facing card in opposite directions. So this can help some readers, because the way it lands in a grand tableau will show if they're looking toward each other, thinking of the same thing or coming together, or if they are looking apart from each other. People do look at this. And there are certain people that read in the direction that they're facing. And if they're always facing the left, you're going to be only going toward the left for a timeline. If they're only facing toward the right, I tend to read timelines always left to right, regardless of the way they're facing. But for some readers, that's meaningful. Going back to this deck. Lily. Please don't give me a lily in a pond. This is a white lily. It should have a stamen or something that looks like a white lily. This can have to do with harmony. It can have to do with an elder piece, something that's over a long time. For the German readers, they use this as sexuality. You want a nice stamen there, but you don't want to turn this into some other kind of lily that's like a lily pad, and it has something sitting on it, and you don't want to have other distractions so that the lily ends up looking like the bouquet or the flowers. You want to have it looking clean, clear. No doubt that's your lily. The sun, vibrant and bright. Don't give me a dark sun over a sunset. Keep it nice and bold. This is a really optimistic, vibrant, electric card. Moon, same thing here. You can see your moon here. I want to make sure that it isn't buried behind all kind of obstacles and a distant thing in the background. And I'm wondering, is this the mountain card? You want to make sure you've got yourself a moon. Key, many decks have someone with a hand and a key, and it's a tiny little thing in the card where they're unlocking something. Please just give me a key. I just want to know it's a key. I don't want a story about a key. I just want to see a symbol that represents the word key. That's functional to me as a reader as I scan real fast over the cards. Fish, please make many of them, because that's one of the things it can be, is abundance or many of something. Your anchor, pretty simple. And your cross. It doesn't have to be fantastic art. The Game of Hope cards, this is not spectacular art, but you can see how clear and central each card is. You've got your letter, really, really clear. You've got your fox. No doubt, that's a coffin. There's your scythe. So it's really fast to go through. The instant you look at them, you know that's a clover. That's your star. That's your ring. There's no doubt you're not looking at things buried in multiple symbols. You don't have to care about any extra story. Melissa's deck, as we went through before, the only thing I would probably change on this is I would wish that there were card insets so I could actually see those court cards. But she's got your lily, your cross. See how fast you know exactly what you're looking at. You got your clover, super clear. Flowers. There's your ring. Her whip does have a person in it. I can see this one really clearly, but if I had my druthers, I'd probably take the person out, but I can tell this card. See how in your face these are? So, and her clouds do have a distinctly dark and light side. So her anchor. It's really clear, and notice the backgrounds, there's no stuff in it. There's not tons of stuff, so when you line these all up, super, super clear. She has a tiny deck that she made as well. And you can see if you line these up side by side how fast you can tell. Woman, lily, house, heart. It's just so obvious when you read them. There are other decks that are not obvious like that. You could make your own. This is the palimpsest deck, and this was a deck where he just scratched out what the cards were. So he would take, say, the King of Spades, put white out on it, drew a picture of a lily. He took the 10 of Spades, whited it out, just put a ship on there. You can do this at home, but you can see it's pretty easy to tell. You got your two owls there, your two birds. This bear. So it doesn't take great art, but it has to be fast to see. I would prefer this to read rather than a beautiful deck that's full of stuff where I can't see the broom and whip that I can look at on my shelf, but I can't do a darned reading with it. You'll see how easy that is. The Lenormand Revolution also comes in a tiny version. Now here's a test. If you can take your card, make it really tiny, like this. This fits in the palm of my hand. If you can make it this tiny and people can look and still see what it is, you've succeeded. If they can look at that card and not see all the clutter, you've got yourself a nice tree, really clear coffin, unquestionable ship. See how you can see these? Nice book. All these are really super, super easy to see. Stars. So you can actually put them on a huge grand tableau. Boom, you're going up and down and you're reading it really fast as if it's words, because you do read a grand tableau like it's reading words on a pages. Not like you're going into each symbol and explaining which way the snake is facing and what it means, and he's shaped like a letter S, so it must mean this. You know, this is Sylvie Steinbeck's deck, and two birds. Perfect. See how uncluttered the background is? There is no like frivolous, crazy clutter. Really clear. That's a whip, no doubt. You put these all side by side. Ring. So you got dog, ring. There's your split path, tower, and boat. So fast to read. This is a really beautiful, easy to read deck. Same here with the instant Lenormand. If you get the one without the words, you can see the backgrounds match. While there's a little bit of embellishment on the edge, it's really light, and you can go through the cards really fast and see house, ship, clover, rider. Ciro Marchetti's deck, more modern. What I like about his images are they are huge and bold. So if we're looking at this, you are looking at a clear whip, no person to worry about. There's a little stuff in the back, but he brought out with light the meaningful image. No question. There's your ring. Big, hefty mountain. Coffin. See how bold these are? If you have to look and say, well, what is that card? Because they're trying so hard to fit it into some cute theme, you have just lost the functionality of the deck. Okay, so do make sure that when you get a deck, scan the images and make sure they're clear. Some decks do change the images. I love this particular deck, the Heraldic Lenormand, because they're bold images, easy to see. However, people have mentioned that the crossroads looks a lot like the cross, so that becomes confusing in some readings. And same, there's your cross card. And the lily looks a lot like the garden, or you could confuse that with the flowers. So you want to get familiar with your cards. I have over time become familiar with this. Your ship is something that's tiny and someone's pushing a little ship and there's a pond and there's flowers around it. You've now lost the ship. It looks like a person card. So while you can have some artist variety, I mean, this is very different from this, but the meaning stays the same. If you can stick to some of the basic meanings, knowing that two birds can mean a couple of people, knowing that fox can mean redhead, knowing that tower can mean someone tall, and that can guide you on how you draw or paint your images, that can be really helpful. If they start getting really cluttery, your readers aren't going to be able to put them into big spreads. This is the Alone's Vision deck. Look how clear that is. Clearly stars. Clearly snake. Got your two owls. It's perfect. The backgrounds, see how plain they are? They're beautiful even with the plain, but because they're plain, you can go right to the center of the deck, see exactly what you're looking at. Easy, easy to read. So when you're looking for a deck, get familiar with the image of the traditional images if you can first, so that you know when you're buying something with a cute theme, it actually does fit the meanings of the Lenormand and doesn't stray into no man's land. This is one of Paris de Bono's deck. Again, you can see the background uncluttered. No question what you're looking at there. There's your cross, there's your clover. Super easy to read. The sun, the stars, the anchor. This, you put this in a grand tableau, you're going to know exactly what you're looking at. You're going to be able to scan that so fast. No dragging through each card trying to find what it is. When you're scanning a new deck, imagine what it would look like seeing them in a large spread. See how all the cards are centered here? No mess on the edges. You can go right through it. You can tell really fast what they are. Coffin, key, house, stars, birds. Up and down you can read them. It's just really fast. You're going to be scanning. What you're going to be doing is reading multiple cards and squishing them into one meaning. So you're going to have to do it really quick to get the meanings. If you have to ponder too much over them, the whole thought process is ruined. You really have to go fast. Here's Melissa Hill's deck, and you can see this is very easy to read. There's a little light here shining on it, but you can see there's your woman, lily, house. Everything is really clear. Probably the only thing that might be distracting on this particular deck is that the backgrounds are of different colors, so if you find that distracting, you know, you might want to take note of that. I find this a very easy deck to read, these mini cards. The only thing I changed on them is on her mini deck, there were no keywords. I added those in the playing card insets on it, but on her larger version of the deck, they do have the card insets written this way. and the keywords. This is Carrie Paris's deck. I've had to shut down the light just to reduce the glare, but even with low light, can you see how easy it is to see these images? Book, star, woman, house. These are the mini cards. They are so small. One of these cards can fit in my hand like that. You can still tell really clear what's in each card, so you condense them down. In her larger cards, same thing, so you put the stars side by side. This has been condensed, no compromise to seeing that card. So what this will challenge modern artists to do is, can you make an image that's bold so I can see it? If you want to make a theme, can you still make it so that the theme doesn't override the reading? Can you make it so that that card is the first thing I see when I'm doing a reading and I don't have to look for a buried book somewhere on a bookshelf in the picture? Can you make it so that these images are fast? If I can't see it in 1 second and know what it is, I'm in trouble. I can't read the deck. If I can see this big bold snake, very, very clear. Some people are worried if the mice are too cute or not. For me, I just want to make sure I can see them, that I know it's a mouse card. And I love if you can stick true to that red fox. Keep my red head card. If you know the basic meanings of the card, it really helps a lot, because then you can make sure that you don't make a card that's going to be in conflict with the meaning of it. Look at those storks, how huge they are. He did a lot of artistic, beautiful things. She's got the stick, they've got the sun, the nest, and yet the storks are right front and center. Same with that child. Lilies, you got no question there. You got gorgeous lilies. Sun, it's not in the background somewhere, it's in my face. I love it. House, this is a really easy deck. Even though Chiro has a little bit of stuff in the background, everything is bold and front and center. Now another thing you want to do is notice how much real estate the card has that are taken up by other things. This image is kind of overwhelmed by the black border. You can still read it. There's only one fish in there, but you can still read it. But the cards are huge, and it's really all border. Same thing here, huge. Some of these cards are more difficult to read. This is an easy one, but you can see all that space. This one is a little harder to see what it is until we see it's a number 3. The ship is that right there. So you'll be looking at this whole circle, and there's the ship. That's a little harder to see. Again, if you didn't know the numbers of the card yet, to find out that this is actually the house card, it's going to be hard to see what that is. The tree. So just want to be very careful. There's a lot of stuff in here. You've got a pole, you've got all this. This is all this for the clouds card. There's your clouds. Okay, snake. There's a lot going on here, but actually what you want to see is this little box down here. That is your coffin. So you want to make sure when you get a deck, find imagery that's going to use the real estate wisely. Lastly, I'm going to give you a little test. This is a deck called the Les Vieux Jeux Lenormand, and I'm going to show you some of the cards in this deck. I'm going to cover the key words. So we've got this woman, lots of color and lots of people. This is probably the easiest of the ones I'm going to give you. This is actually the garden card. Let's try a few more, see if you can guess. You've got a circle, an eye of Horus. Lots going on in this card, but it's the sun. And then this particular one, you've got lots of numbers and things going on. This down here took me a long time to realize there's actually a bird in this picture. That's your stork. You can see how difficult that would be to read in a large spread. Here's another faux pas, is a lot of times they'll take images that are in several cards. So we've got something, this could be a letter right here, or it could be a book, or it could be the keys, or it could be, was there a man, or is this a whip? So there's a lot of stuff going on here, and you should really keep out any images that might be represented by other cards. This is actually the book. Same thing right here. Do we have death? Is this our coffin? Oh, but there's a scythe and there's people. That's our scythe card. Really busy, a lot of stuff going on in the card. This particular one, mystery. The compass might give us a clue that this is the roads. There's no crossroad or path in this. Another one here, you've got a woman, a lot of bright light and some fire and some light. Is it the sun? Turns out this is our heart. Then we've got this card that has animals in it. Is it a dog? Is it a fox? There's people there, and it's actually our bear card. And same thing here, even though you might get used to this card, there's a lot going on in here. All this just to show us the moon. But because of all the extra stuff, let me show you what this looks like in a large spread. So if I actually took this deck and put it into a larger spread, it becomes really a mess. It's really hard to see. There's a lot going on here. This right down here, I looked at it, I thought it was a sun, and then the snake, all that, and really what we've got here, it's a ring. See how confusing it can be, other imagery. This one down here, it looked like a key, a bird sitting on a key, and then I wondered if it was a letter because he's sitting on a pen. It's the bird's card. So much stuff going on in the margins that it becomes muddled. You can't see what it is. So you can see how this would impact your ability to take several cards and condense them down to one. You're lucky if you can figure out what one of these is. Wouldn't you much rather want to read this, where you could look at it very quickly without even knowing this deck? I could find the man card really fast. I can find the woman card. I know that's a star. I know that's a scythe. I know that's an anchor. I can scan through this so fast and tell you exactly what's going on in the spread. Neat, clean, tidy. Backgrounds uncluttered, all uniform, really nice. Paris de Bono made this nice deck. It's a vintage. I believe this is called the vintage Lenormand. So I hope this is helpful. What you want to do is when you choose a deck, or if you make a deck, you want to make sure that your readers are able to read it, that it's not just pretty, it doesn't just fit tightly into a theme. It's different than tarot. It's different than tarot. I can't stress that enough. This is not tarot. You're not reading pictures like imagery. You are making them into words. You don't want to end up with this. You don't want a box of decks that you're going to put in a shelf and not use. You want one of these that you're going to sit next to your favorite chair, take out every night, and it'll give you usable, sharp, accurate, fast readings. This is very valuable. This is not. They might be pretty. I can't use them. This is what you want. Make your decks usable. You can be pretty. This is going to make a challenge to artists because they're going to have to limit all the stuff they can put into a card if the card is going to remain readable to their users.